Another hurdle's been thrown in the path of Malaysian opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim as he prepares to fight that country's looming general election. Just 4 months after he was acquitted of sodomy charges, prosecutors now say he broke the law by attending a political rally in April when 200,000 protesters took to the streets of Kuala Lumpur calling for electoral reform. The Bersih or Clean movement says the Malaysian electoral system is rotten to the core and must be changed before the next poll, which is expected to be called at any moment. But if Mr Anwar is convicted, he won't be able to contest it. Southeast Asia correspondent Zoe Daniel reports from Kuala Lumpur.
It's deja vu for Anwar Ibrahim. The Malaysian opposition leader spent 8 years in jail for sodomy and beat a second sodomy charge earlier this year. Now he's back in court for other reasons and may miss the election if the charges stick. He's always maintained that all charges against him have been politically motivated. He's directly accused the Prime Minister Najib Razak of trying to cut him out of the election process.
I mean, this continued political harassment, clearly that's how Najib is conducting elections.
Mr Anwar was elected in a by-election because he was banned due to corruption charges at the time of the last general election in 2008. Now, with a poll imminent, he's facing the possibility of missing another one.
I think Prime Minister Najib's intention is very clear. First, to get me booked with a trial and having to attend court, which means will probably frustrate most of my work in terms of effective campaigning. Second is to secure conviction. Securing conviction means I will not be eligible to stand in the forthcoming elections.
It's alleged that Mr Anwar defied a court order by attending a rally at the landmark Merdeka Square with thousands of others and incited other protesters to break down barriers into the area. He's been accused of hijacking the Bersih movement for political gain. But its leaders say that's untrue, and their 3.0 rally was attended by as many as 200,000 Malaysians who want electoral reform to fix what they say is a rotten system.
We found many instances of voter fraud. We found instances and video evidence of vote buying. There was clearly lack of access to the media for all the candidates in the elections. The media is very, very lopsided.
Ambika Srinivasan chairs the movement, which is backed by 84 organisations. It's seeking 8 key reforms, among them redrawing of seats currently skewed to allow the ruling Barisan Nasional coalition to hold power with as little as a fifth of the national vote. The government has taken some steps towards change, but it's unlikely that key reforms will be enacted before the election, which could be called at any moment.
The only problem is that there's no commitment to implementing at least the 8 demands of Bersih before the 13th general elections. That's our grouse.
Ambika Srinivasan has been facing threats to her safety, particularly since the massive turnout at the last rally in April. She accuses authorities of turning a blind eye. In the crowd was Yukteswaran Vijay, who took me back to the site of the rally to explain what happened that day. He happens to be an assistant to Anwar's lawyer, but he was at the rally in his private time, and when he went to the aid of others being beaten by police, he says he was arrested and bashed himself.
The mental trauma is still there. Like, even in fact today, when I went to court, when I saw a whole group of police officers, I automatically that fear in there.
He's still recovering physically too, but he remains committed.
At the end of the day, the more we harp on the fact that our country is a democratic country, Malaysia is a democratic country, how can a country be democratic when you don't have clean and fair elections?
In fact, the country is incredibly fragmented along racial and religious lines. Public debate is limited due to heavy control of the press, and more than 50 years under the control of the same group of parties has led to entrenched bias and corruption. Political analyst Dr Ong Kian Ming says taking Anwar Ibrahim and other opposition figures to court could heighten dissatisfaction with the government's approach.
The initial reaction towards Anwar seems to reek of political persecution, and it would be used once again by the opposition to say that the government is not walking the walk in terms of political transformation.
Malaysia's Prime Minister is expected to call an election at any moment. His government says electoral reforms are ongoing, and while it plays down the significance of the Bersih protest movement, it's not ignoring it.
You had, somewhere around 20 to 50,000 people who went out there, which isn't really a big, significant portion of the electorate, more than 13 to 14 million people.
As for Anwar Ibrahim, the government says he's been charged for inciting other protesters to enter an illegal area and doesn't apologise.
It looks very blunt because unfortunately he was the one who ordered the breach. If it was somebody else, then that person would have been charged.
Mr Anwar says he will fight the charges in court so he can contest the election whenever it's called.
Would it be better, though, for the reform process if you went away, so the personality is gone out of it, if you just retired?
Yeah, I think then the next guy who's supposed to hold the mantle will then bear the brunt. You're dealing with authoritarian regimes. The statecraft of authoritarian rule, virtually without exception, will demonize whoever is seen to be a threat to their rule.
Zoe Daniel reporting.